All right, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive safe, Dave, Sir, Rick here, along with Blake, man in the boards, and we have Natallia on Ladies Who Launch. How you doing, Natallia?
I am good. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, and you are the founder of Trucking Safely.
Woo! We love safety here. Go ahead, Natallia. Tell us a little bit.
Yes, I have started this company about 2 years ago, and I've been doing it since. I do coaching and consulting for smaller trucking companies.
You know what? It's funny you say that because we had a conversation today on coaching. Talk to me a little bit about coaching, because coaching, being coached the wrong way, can get drivers or others kind of offended, getting them on the wrong, taking it the wrong way. When you talk coaching, how important is that to those that are doing the coaching?
Yes, so the way that I coach my clients, so I mostly work with owners of the companies just because safety comes from the owner's mindset. If it doesn't, then it doesn't really matter what anybody else does in the company. So coaching to me is mostly the implementation. You can tell a person what to do, but they still might not be able to know how to do it. So the coaching is a lot of it in the actual implementation. And when it comes to drivers specifically, we focus on internal. I think that a lot of problems that the drivers are having could be fixed just by organizing internal operations of the company.
So here, let's just start right off the bat. Hey, you started your own company. What made you want to start it, and why? Because I want to get into the nitty. What made you want to do it, and for what reasons?
So I'll be honest with you. I was in the trucking industry for 7 years, and then eventually I was exhausted from it. It's constantly, there's so much in it. And I was working in a smaller company, and that is just a different story in itself. But I actually left the industry and I went and tried different things. And then eventually, because I've tried so many things, I realized that the trucking industry is kind of closed off. There's really not that many new great ideas for implementation. And then I saw it from a different perspective, and I came back with that perspective.
Wow. Yeah, that's, and many of us, we get into this industry, and let's face it, we try to get out, but somehow, for some reason, it just grabs us back in, and it brings us back in. You're doing the backstroke, get me out of here, and it won't let you. It brings you in here. So what about that stack of paper? There's something about a stack of papers that helped you also create this job, right? Am I making that up?
Yes, stack of papers. I always say I started with the stack of papers because I was working with two of my brothers, and I was actually a dispatch. But then I found this huge stack of papers that it was kind of in the corner. Nobody was dealing with it because nobody wanted to. And my personality, I wanted to organize everything. And that's kind of where it started, because there was a lot of things not being taken care of.
So here we're going to tell you. So you go into trucking companies as a coach, and all of a sudden you look at them. Do you just come across a lot of disorganization by a lot of people when you come in there, on their safety and stuff like that? You walk in and go, you know what? We got to reorganize. We got to re-nest this. Do you do that a lot?
Yes. So that's pretty much all I do. I reorganize every structure, safety programs, and safety to me is just not a department, it's part of the strategy, so it touches every aspect of a business. So usually we end up reorganizing the way that it's structured internally in the operations of it.
Hey, Natallia, when I bring somebody in here, especially a consultant, then I better see some profits somewhere else. How are you doing that part? Because you got to show somebody that, hey, this is going to create some profits for you. Are you able to do that?
Surprisingly, yes. So a lot of the work that I do, companies are able to grow much faster because of the confidence. So most of the stuff that I do, we automate safety and compliance in the project management methods. So instead of necessarily, so a lot of companies aren't able to hire full-time safety managers. So we implement processes that would do that job for them without having to necessarily hire a full-time person.
How do you address the idea or the mindset from, let's say, an owner or a small operation who's in charge of not only dispatching the truck, but also the safety guy. How do you get that person to differentiate between wanting to get the job done and then the safety guy saying, no, we can't get it done because it's not safe? I mean, obviously there's two conflicting ideas there. How do you bend those? How do you get those together?
I think that initially the strategy has to be set up in the way that implements safety. That's why I always say it starts with the owner, because we like it or not, everything that the owner does in smaller companies, it explicitly or implicitly either drives safe culture or it doesn't. So I think it depends on first the strategy, and then from that you can go and actually find those common grounds. But if the strategy does one thing for operations specifically, and then the safety is trying to do something else, which is usually the case, then there's not a way that you can work effectively.
Yeah, and I think a challenge for you or for anybody in the safety side is trying to, get the two departments to really see that, hey, no matter what, yes, we want on-time service. Yes, we want this. Yes, we want to make money, but it has to happen in a safe manner. Sometimes, though, you hear it from the dispatcher or somebody that says, we can do all we want to, but the drivers don't care. What are your thoughts on that?
Drivers specifically, I think that it depends how, again, I focus on the office personnel, so everybody who's working within the office. A lot of times drivers don't care because nobody follows up, there's no consequences, there's no rewards. So really nobody cares until something happens, and that's a problem. Companies that continually proactively work with their drivers usually have different feedback, and the way drivers treat that differently.
Do you on occasion, or is it more often than not that you go into companies after the bad things have happened and you're trying to find new ways to make it better? Or do you go in typically before the bad things have happened and make them better? Which of the two do you find yourself doing more of?
So when I was starting, I thought I'll be working more with companies that are already on fire. But surprisingly, a lot of my clients are the ones who proactively want to grow, and they want that foundation. They want it established, they want it automated, they want it there for them. So the majority of my clients, it's not on fire. We are structuring, we are planning for growth, and I like that type of work a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a little probably less stress-free inside that office when somebody's been mandated to get their safety under control, as opposed to somebody bringing you in to proactively manage. That was a great, because I typically look at somebody that's a consultant as you're going in there after the fact. Do smaller companies, number one, do they really have that care? And I'll ask you that 1 to 50 truck operator, I mean, are they really out there today in your mind trying to do everything the safest way, following the same rules that the big companies are?
I think that the ones that are growing, they actually are, and I think that's one of the most surprising things that I found when actually working and finding clients, is they are proactively looking, they are trying to learn, and they are trying to actually implement it. They're not trying to kind of get by. They want to be with the bigger companies.
Do you find yourself ever at key points where you just get some major pushback when you're trying to, I guess my deal is, where is it, do you find the biggest pushback along the way? Is it the owner? Is it the middle management? Is it the operation guy? Is it the dispatcher? Where do you find some of the biggest pushbacks?
I think that a lot of smaller companies are opened by a few partners, and based on the way that personalities match and then people find each other, like the partners' ownership, it's usually one of the owners, because of their personality, they're more money driven. I usually have pushback from there. But it's, and I've seen it many times, because usually people find a different skills to complement them, but that's also where the problems happen.
Hey, Natallia, I want to hear this. I'm going to kind of go off script here, but at some point you've came across a situation that you just were like, there's just no way these folks are going to hear my message or going to follow up with what I had. Can you give me a success story? Somebody that was a challenge, and you, through your hard work, through your coaching, through your teaching, were able to get them to change their practices the way that they should be.
Well, I think that my first experience was working with two of my older brothers. I was fighting with them for 7 years, and it was just a lot of fighting because I didn't know how to present it to them in a way that they would actually implement. So I think a lot of my learning experience happened there because I was just openly fighting with them. And then eventually it came to a point where I was able to implement it, and people were able to listen. And I think that's where I was able to go into coaching, because I have tuned into my delivery methods.
That's a good point.
When you walk into a what do you find is the number one issue in these 1 to 50 truck operations? If you had to pick the top two, what are the top two major issues that you want to get addressed quickly and first?
Top two, I would say driver onboarding. That is one of the biggest, what we focus on. So I have a list of processes that I structure for companies, and driver onboarding is the biggest one, just because, I mean, we could talk about it all day long. It affects your safety scores. But mostly I come in and I look at their safety scores, and from that we create a strategy, what they need to do. But we want to retain the drivers, and we want to be able to actually start implementing whatever it is. We implement. We don't just talk about it, we do things.
Natallia, you're president and CEO. Are you your only employee today?
Yes, I am.
I want to hear your why. You know, when other than you just wanted to get back in and do something, why safety? I mean, where did that passion for safety come from? And and how are you using that to really change these trucking companies?
I think for me is the fact that I never was able to actually grasp it. It is such a wide area of information and different techniques that you have to understand within safety. So I was never able to actually get it completely, and it bugs me. I need to be able to be an expert. And there was one area where I couldn't be that expert. But I think the biggest thing why I came back specifically into safety is when I worked in that little time gap. I worked for a software company, project management company. I was able to see what I was missing. So I had a stack of papers. Instead, it should have been a process. It should have been in a project management system. And that's what I do for companies, because I didn't really get it at the end. And that kind of pushed me to figure it out all the way. And that's why we implement a lot of project management system. I use ClickUp, and we build that out completely, and it makes it so much easier for the clients.
You find yourself, as you do this, and as you look at these companies and you go in and work with, do you look at their safety scores as your best judgment on how they're doing? Is that how you judge yourself on your success? Or do you look at their retention rate? Or do you look at, what are some of your values that you look at, that you measure yourself on your success with these companies?
So he asks this because he leaves out of work every day patting himself on the back.
Correct.
He's wanting to know, what do you pat yourself on the back for?
That is a very interesting question, because when you're in consulting and coaching, there's really not that much you can pat yourself on the back, because a lot of stuff that I do, the results will be in a year or two. But it's the ability, it is knowing, it is speaking with the owner and seeing that he is thinking differently or she's thinking differently. I think that is enough for me, because I know from there on they will be okay. Their mind has changed, they have shifted, and from that on, and then the processes that I've built, it will take them far.
Well, I tell you what, Natallia, I do appreciate you coming on today, and great information, and we appreciate it. Hey, do me a favor. What is the best way to reach you over at Trucking Safely? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
It's truckingsafety.com.
All right,
Great.
and we get pretty easy. And I'll tell you what, before you get out of here, we ask all our guests to do one thing, and that is to state their name, who they're with, and you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Can you do that for me?
Sure. Hi, my name is Natallia, Opalko, founder of Trucking Safety, and you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Natalya.
Thank you, Miss Natalya. Have a great day and make it happen, okay?
Thank you. You as well.